Catriona Wallace, Directora de Fifth Quadrant de Australia. Welcome. Thank you, Catriona, for the interview. I'd like to know what is the future with the client and the technology?
Well, the main technology we're seeing influencing the customer and organisation relationships is the coming of social media and mobile application technology. And we see in Mexico and Brazil that the consumers in these countries have a very strong preference for using social media and mobile apps.
What is the difference between the Mexican consumer with the other countries?
Well, we did a global study of 10 countries, including Mexico and Brazil, and we saw that Mexico, by far globally, has the strongest preference for using social media by customers, followed very closely by Brazil. So, for example, 60% of Mexican customers are happy to use social media. This compares to about 20% of American or Canadian customers. With regard to mobile applications on their smartphone, about 72% of Mexican consumers are happy to use this technology, compared to, again, about 30% only of American consumers.
And why these countries? Why Brazil, why Mexico, and no other countries in Latin America?
Well, we only studied Brazil and Mexico, but I would predict that other countries within Latin America would be very, very much the same. But we see the same trends happening in China and India and some of the emerging nations. So it's the developing economies which are embracing social media.
One of the last concepts in the communication is the voice of the client, or the voice of the customer, and the contact center 2.0. How can we define this concept, and how does it apply to the daily work of a company?
Yeah, so voice of customer programs, sometimes called enterprise feedback management programs, are really becoming an essential management tool. So this is where organisations collect customer data and feedback from all the touch points and have a sophisticated analytics program and analysis program and distribution program of the information. So this will help drive more cost-effective contact centres and customer service units. It'll help build quality and build more effective interactions. So we're seeing more and more organisations engaging in enterprise-wide customer feedback.
How is the most important change the customer experience with the social media?
Well, it's interesting. So even though consumers, and particularly those here in Mexico, are interested in using it, they still don't think it's a very good channel to resolve their problems. So for example, for social media, it's only around 60% of consumers get their queries resolved using social media, compared to over 70% of people using phone. And in fact, email is even worse. Email is around 55% resolution rate. So even though consumers like to use it, it doesn't work that well when they've got a problem.
Okay, currently, where is the customer communication in organization evolving towards?
Where is customer communication evolving towards? We'll see more and more social type interactions, social media, but not just social media. We'll see online, web chat, mobile apps, which are not purely social media. Social media, the definition is simply a dialogue that's interactive, that's online. So it's a broad definition. Even though we'll see the growth of this as a communication channel, the telephone is still the preferred and most popular channel now.
Yes. Which would you consider to be the most important challenges to the customer interaction industry in this year?
Yeah, I think it's what we call the coming of the consumer power economy, or the customer intention economy, where the power in the business and consumer relationship is shifting from business to consumers. So consumers are becoming much stronger, much more sophisticated, much more influential in demanding what they want from an organisation. Now, we in the contact centre industry or the customer interaction industry are only just managing to deliver service in the traditional way. Now the whole dynamic is changing, and consumers will be demanding services in ways they've never done before.
What do you consider is the most important difference between the contact center or the Australian contact center and the Mexican contact centers?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think the Australian market is a little bit more mature than the Mexican market, and we judge the maturity really by to a degree, the level of technology that's in the contact centres. And Australia is now one of the leading countries with regard to advanced contact centre technology. Other than that, we've also got a reasonable outsourcing sector. We know that Mexico's also got a strong focus on outsourcing. So the countries would be similar with regard to that.
Reference to the outsourcing, how can an outsourcing company helps an organization to manage its social networks with a service?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question, and most of the outsourcers don't yet really have good social media solutions. So a few of them are starting to, and they will have a competitive advantage, but still organisations are reluctant to outsource the social media, but it will happen. So the clever outsourcers are now looking at how they might provide a social media service, but they're not doing it very often or very well just yet.
Okay. How can social media or how can social networks be integrated with the current business and business communication models?
Be integrated?
Yes.
Yeah, the integration is absolutely critical, and we see that it mostly doesn't happen. What typically is missing is an overarching strategic plan. So organisations need an enterprise-wide social media strategy or an enterprise-wide service strategy that then social media sits underneath. And in that planning, it should then be integrated with the call centre, with other online channels. Currently, it's not done very well.
Maybe if a company wants to install or wants to buy a social network or a social software or something like that, and what do you recommend to the companies to acquire this kind of solution of this kind of services?
Well, there are a number of different IT-focused companies that sell social media type software. So the Avayas, the Ciscos, the Genesis, the big contact center vendors will have a social media application. But then there's the pure social media players, so Radiant, Six, Trax. These are pure social media players. My bet at this stage is to invest in the pure social media players because this is their expertise, and these applications should be able to be bolted on or integrated into your contact center platform.
What do you consider is the future in the service multimedia?
Meaning?
Multimedia services. What is the future? What is the trends in the multimedia service, in the contact center?
Like video?
Yes, like video,
yes,
like chat.
Yes, yes. So multimedia in contact centers is an interesting one because video has never really taken off, and it's starting to get a little bit more traction, but that's more video streaming than video face-to-face interactions. Web chat is also taking off quite well, so is SMS, but web chat and SMS have not amounted to being the channels that we thought they were going to be. So we will see social media overtake both SMS and web chat channels, although they still do have their role.